I propose that CrossFit is wrong about bicep curls and probably also wrong about burpees. In this short podcast, I'm going to explain why I have this probably very unpopular opinion in the CrossFit space. Stick around.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, guys? It's Coach G at CrossFit Edwardsville. I'm one of the coaching team here at CrossFit Edwardsville. Been doing CrossFit about 15 years now, coaching it probably 12, 13, something like that. And I've spent a lot of time over the years thinking about CrossFit, the methodology. And in this short podcast, I want to share what's probably going to be a really unpopular opinion in the CrossFit space. Because in CrossFit world, CrossFit is defined as constantly varied functional movement done at high intensity. Constantly varied functional movement done at high intensity. And we have almost like this obsessive interest and this dogmatic determination that all the exercises that we should do should be super functional, meaning the exercises that we do in CrossFit should transfer over to life and sports and combat, meaning they should have real world application. We're not just doing exercises that are cool in the gym, but have some sort of transfer, some practical value, some sort of everyday, pragmatic value. And so through that lens, we choose exercises that we love to do in CrossFit and that we don't love to do in CrossFit. And because we have this approach, the historical approach in CrossFit world has been to really dump on bicep curls, that they're not functional. The way that Greg Glassman, the founder of CrossFit, likes to dog on bicep curls by talking about like this movement right here, like it never happens in everyday life. And if you're just listening to the audio version of this, he's pantomiming lifting a beer from about waist height up to his mouth, back to his waist, back to his mouth. Like, what brings us to the gym is to make us better at the movement of shotgunning a beer into our faces. And so like it gets laughs out of the audience when he does this, but the punchline, his point is that bicep curls aren't functional and we shouldn't be wasting our time doing them. And so I want to talk about that for a second, because I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And when I think about having strong biceps, it's not just about, looking good in a shirt, looking good in a swimsuit. It's not just about getting better at shotgunning beers, but that motion of having the muscle at your elbow, the biceps, strong enough that you can maintain a 90-degree angle or less of your forearm relative to your upper arm, your humerus relative to your radius. Be able to the strength, the ability to maintain that 90-degree angle between your forearm and your upper arm is actually an incredibly useful, and I would even say an essential quality for everyday life. I picture in my mind the community mom who's holding their infant child in one arm, which is a static bicep curl of the baby in the one arm, and they've got 4 bags of groceries on their other arm, from their elbow to their wrist, 4 bags of groceries looped over their forearm, and they're trying to hold a key to navigate it into their car, or to navigate the key into the front door, to unlock the front door to their home or whatever. This is a woman in a very practical everyday situation who needs to have a fairly considerable amount of bicep strength to maintain that static hold position. Or if you think about the muscles you actually employ, if you're going to lift a box from waist height to shoulder height to overhead, you're starting with a bicep curl to bring that box from waist height to shoulder. And that is a static hold of the biceps initially to initiate the movement of putting the box to overhead to put it up in a high closet, or put heavy china plates on the high shelf. I picture anybody who's carrying a heavy box from point A to point B, they're holding it against their chest with their arms in a static bicep curl hold position. And there are 1,000 variations of this situation that come up in everyday life. And so I really started to think and now believe that in CrossFit world, we may have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, where we are eschewing, we are consciously avoiding non-functional movements in our CrossFit workouts, where you have like your lateral dumbbell raises out to the side with your arms straight, which can be awfully difficult to relate that to everyday life, or your front deltoid front raises with a dumbbell. It can be very difficult to relate that to everyday life. Maybe those movements are not practical or functional. But when I think about what a bicep curl actually gives us, the strength in the batter's box position between waist and shoulders, with the width of the body marking the outside boundaries or parameters, like having a tremendous amount of bicep strength in this window is not just practical and functional, it's essential to everyday life. Like, you actually can't function very well if you are not very strong in that range of motion. And there aren't a whole lot of things in CrossFit that we do that are particularly bicep specific in that window. And so I think that in CrossFit, we've been getting this wrong all these years, that we've thrown out bicep curls because they have unfairly been maligned as an unfunctional, impractical movement with no value, when maybe they are essential and they have a tremendous amount of value for us. And maybe we should be including those in our training program, because the deadlifts that we love to do, the back squats that we love to do, the shoulder presses that we love to do, they're all amazing exercises, but none of those strengthen the biceps in the range of motion that we're talking about here. None of them. And I can't think of any other exercises that do either. You could even, I think there'd probably be some pushback from people who are in the know that maybe variations of barbell cleans or dumbbell cleans, maybe those are working a somewhat similar range of motion that would benefit in a way roughly approximate of a bicep curl. I would push back against it. Not really. We're thinking about more with a clean. We're thinking about more pate rolling the body with a barbell, bringing it up using upper traps, or I should say, bringing it up using our legs and then pulling ourselves down using our upper traps and our back musculature, and to a far lesser extent, our biceps. So maybe we've been getting this wrong and misplacing hate on the bicep curl. So I would just like to throw it out there into the world that maybe we should reconsider, and we should be including bicep curls in our regular training program. Granted, it may not have to be in a Metcon, but certainly during accessory exercise, there's no reason that we couldn't be doing bicep curls. And yeah, besides the inherent functionality, I'm going to say that now, the inherent practicality and usefulness of what bicep curls give us, it does really help in a lot of practical ways to look good in a shirt, to look good in a tank top. And so I think as CrossFitters, we need to drop the hate for the bicep curl. Now, I also want to throw out another potentially unpopular opinion about burpees, because we herald burpees as one of the great exhibit A's of functionality. But is it really? Like, in everyday life, how often do we need to drop from a standing position to the floor like gunshots have gone off. Quick, hit the deck. How often do we have to do that? I don't know, never. I certainly haven't done that today. I have lowered myself to the floor by passing through a lunge position and then through a push-up negative to get to the floor. And I'm sure that some people would argue that a burpee is just that. It's getting down to the floor in a very expedient and probably unrealistic way. We're getting down to the floor, up from the floor, and absolutely yes, you have to maintain the ability to get up and down off the floor, to maintain independence and stay out of the convalescent home as you age. No question about it. Getting up and down from the floor is almost a diagnostic for, can you maintain independence at this stage of life? I don't push back against that. What I push back against, though, is that the burpee, as we do it in CrossFit, where you have to drop chest and thighs to floor as if you're ducking gunfire, and then pop back up to your feet and then jump to overhead. There is a lot going on in a standard burpee that does not, in my estimation, translate into everyday life. Since when do you need to get back to your feet and then jump to overhead? Unless you are playing a basketball game and you got knocked down and you wanted to get up very, very quickly. But again, that specific instance is not extremely ubiquitous in everyday life. Like, we're not doing that all the time. Now, I'm not saying nobody should do burpees, because, in terms of just using nothing more than your body weight to get a great conditioning workout and kind of in a sense, full body strength agility workout, yeah, you can use it for that. If you don't have equipment, burpees could be a really great go-to. You want a great workout? Spend 10 minutes. Like, you got 10 minutes, you got no more time to spend than that. You're short on time today. Start a timer on your phone, and for 10 minutes, just do burpees. You'll get a great workout out of that. There's no doubt about it. You'll get a cardiorespiratory stimulus, a muscular stamina stimulus. You'll be out of breath. Your muscles will burn. You'll get agility and coordination out of it, for sure. No doubt about it. Yeah. But will that movement translate over to your everyday life? I don't think so. So as I wrap this up on this podcast, I want to posit for the audience that bicep curls are probably more functional than burpees for most people. I'm going to say that again. Unpopular opinion. Bicep curls are probably a more functional exercise with more functional everyday transferability of skill than burpees are. So, just a thought for the day. Maybe we should not, maybe we should end the hate party against bicep curls, and then maybe turn down our love affair with burpees. Just a thought. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this podcast, guys. It's been fun to have you. Hopefully you learned something or found this interesting. You can also learn more about CrossFit and CrossFit Edwardsville specifically by going to all the socials, finding us there. You can visit us on CrossFitEdwardsville.com and book a no-sweat conversation to talk to any of our coaches. We'd be happy to talk to you about what your CrossFit journey looks like and what it looks like for you to get started in CrossFit. So thanks again for joining us on this podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.